felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about. 34 false statements made to cover up other crimes. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct. The defendant repeatedly made false statements on New York business records.
But don't get your hopes up for any fast-moving action on this case. For one, nothing is going to happen for a very long time. Trump isn't due in court again till the end of the year. And for another, as liberal Ian Millhiser writes in Vox, there's a very real risk that this indictment will end in an even bigger anticlimax. It's unclear that the felony statute that Trump is accused of violating actually applies to him. And conservative David French echoes that sentiment in the New York Times, writing that Bragg's legal theory is, quote, largely untested. Other legal analysts disagree. So at this point in the show, you would probably expect me now to go into the details about the legal implications for Trump, the arguments on both sides, and bring out a panel of lawyers to explain the case and why Trump actually should be found guilty, etc., etc. But I'm not going to do that today. Because while none of us know whether Trump will be found guilty in this case, and remember, he's innocent until proven guilty, what we do know for sure, based on what we've learned from this case in recent weeks, is that the 2024 Republican frontrunner is unqualified to hold public office, is unfit to be president of the United States. We've seen enough. So today, here are 5 things the Manhattan case alone has shown us in political and moral terms, if not legal terms, that in any normal world would already disqualify Trump from the 2024 race. Number one, this case has proved for the umpteenth time that Donald Trump is the shameless master of the racist attack. He posted on Truth Social that Alvin Bragg, a black man, is a Soros-backed animal. That's a 2-for-1, an anti-Semitic dog whistle combined with an anti-black racist slur. Just imagine if Mitt Romney had used the same term during his presidential race a little over 10 short years ago. That certainly would have been disqualifying for him in that GOP, but not this one. Number 2, Trump cannot stop using language that incites violence and threats. He warned of, quote, death and destruction if he was charged by the Manhattan DA. He also posted a disturbing image of himself holding a baseball bat near DA Bragg's head. In fact, both Bragg and the judge have been subjected to threats. The judge even requested all parties in the case to refrain from statements that may incite violence or unrest. Yeah, good luck with that. Which brings us to point number 3. The man who was president and wants to be president again doesn't give a damn about the Constitution, the rule of law, or an independent judiciary in this country. He has no respect for the judicial process. In fact, just hours after his arraignment and that request to cool his tone, Trump attacked not just the judge, but the judge's family.
This is where we are right now. I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family whose daughter worked for Kamala Harris and now receives money from the Biden-Harris campaign and a lot of men.
By the way, Trump lawyers who have been claiming this past week that if his name was Donald Smith, not Donald Trump, he wouldn't be indicted. Worth pointing out, if he wasn't named Donald Trump, he wouldn't be able to get away with that rhetoric you just heard. Oh, and this isn't the first time Trump has gone after a judge. In 2016, he attacked Judge Gonzalo Curiel, the man overseeing the fraud case against Trump University. At the time, candidate Trump called Curiel a hater and went after his Mexican ancestry, another example of the former president's racism. Number 4, Trump lies and lies and lies. We knew that before this case, but it's certainly been underscored now. Why do I say that? Because back in 2018, Trump claimed to know nothing about hush money payments to Stormy Daniels.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels? Then why did Michael Cohen make this if there was no truth or allegation?
Well, you have to ask Michael Cohen. Michael's my attorney, and you'll have to ask Michael.
Do you know where he got the money to make that payment?
No, I don't know.
But less than a month later, Team Trump admitted to authorizing the payment, a direct contradiction, a.k.a. he was caught in a lie. And the 5th and final reason why Trump is unfit for office, by the Republican Party's own standards, not my standards, not your standards, their standards, is because of his complete and utter moral bankruptcy. Because sure, Trump allies have been quick to point out that paying off a porn star is not in and of itself a crime, going all the way back to when the hush money story first broke in 2018.
Did Mr. Trump direct Michael Cohen to pay off these 2 women or not? No, the truth is actually what Cohen testified to under oath before Congress, which is that the president didn't know about this. And Chris, even if it were true, it's not a crime.
OK, sure. Paying off someone to keep silent about an alleged affair isn't necessarily a crime. And Trump, a man noted for his honesty, does deny the affair. And yet sleaze is sleaze in politics. We're talking about a potential Republican presidential nominee allegedly cheating on his wife who had just given birth with an adult film star. Shouldn't the specter of that rumoured affair shock and embarrass the Christian right, the Republican Party of porn bans and family values, the party that, metaphorically speaking, stoned Bill Clinton for alleged affairs 3 decades earlier, in fact, impeached him and tried to indict him? So yes, we will all be obsessed with the outcome of Trump's Manhattan case for the foreseeable future. Legal analysts will try and predict every possible outcome, understandably. But right now, in this moment, let's not let the legal aspect of this story overlook the equally important political and moral aspects of it. Everything that we know about this case and everything Trump has done in response to this case is a reminder of who he really is and why the American people can't seriously entrust him with the presidency again. I mean, as far as Trump's fitness for high office is concerned, in my non-legal view, it's case closed. Joining me now to discuss is Tara Setmeyer. She's a senior advisor at the Anti-Trump Lincoln Project and a former GOP communications director. And David K. Johnston, he's the founder of DCReport.org and the author of The Big Cheat, How Donald Trump Fleeced America and Enriched Himself and His Family. Thank you both for joining me. David, you've been following Trump for decades now. Did you ever imagine we would get to this point where he's actually finally charged with a crime?
Yeah, once he became president, I figured that eventually the authorities would have to respond to his conduct. I frankly didn't think it would take this long, and it's going to be a long time till we get to trial because the New York DA's office didn't object to having the next meeting in December, which screams that they are going to issue a superseding indictment.
I mean, I did a monologue the other day on MSNBC about for 50 years, Donald Trump has been evading the law. Back in 1973, he turns up on the front of the New York Times accused of violating the Fair Housing Act. So it was interesting that we finally got to this point this week. Tara, we just played a clip of Rudy Giuliani saying even if Trump really did direct Michael Cohen to make these hush money payments, which he denies, it's not a crime, they say, so it doesn't matter. Is that really where the Republican Party, your former party, has fallen to, that you can lie, cheat, steal, philander, whatever, as long as it's not technically a crime?
Yes. And you forgot a couple things. You can try to overturn an election. You can instigate an insurrection. You can, have a fake elector scheme. You can try and extort the Ukrainian president. You can consort with Russians and do God knows what else in business with them. You can attack the intelligence community. You can attack veterans. You can go ahead and attack veterans' families. You can praise Russia and their dictatorships over there, and North Korea. I mean, the list is long, Mehdi. The Republican Party that I knew, that my grandfather's grandfather was a part of, does not exist anymore. That's dead and gone. Republicans are now the party of chaos and criminality. They're the party of illegality and...
Gade trai peuple ou nan bataille Jésus, gade gens ap kouri derrière yo dans tout coin Saint-Domingue, gade gens ap bourré yo dans caloge et puis pimpe yo la caille. Pour diable, y ap fui insécurité, la vie chère, mais qui est-ce qu'a réconforté yo? Côté secours yo ap sorti l'Éternel. Pasteur Desronettes, menamé à groupe Flambeau Spirituel, ensemble avec tout pasteur dans Magdalena, a organisé un grand concert de réconfort dans Bataille Magdalena en République Dominicaine. Vendredi 24 février, sorti 5h pour 8h du soir. Musique évangélique, c'est une musique inspirée qui baille réconfort, qui simaille l'espoir et puis chasse tristesse. Louange nous, c'est un sacrifice devant mon Dieu qui compte lever moun, qui compte lever nation en dignité. Haïtien tout partout, n'a débarqué dans bataille, dans Magdalena, présence nous youn, a bay l'autre courage. Adoration ak louange nous toutes dans l'unité, car aller en victoire sans pareil. 24 février, depuis 5h fait boule, grand concert de réconfort et de louange avec Pasteur Desronettes. En pile, l'autre artiste à groupe invité à plat. Pas oublier fois ça, Blanc Desronettes à présent. pour danser pour tout peuple haïtien qui n'a grand tristesse. Concert ça gratis ti chéri. Pour information, relais pasteur Elinor dans 849 859 42 32 ou bien contacter évangéliste Ramon dans 829 418 88 56. Pasteur Desronettes, groupe Flambeau spirituel à tout pasteur dans Magdalena dans bataille, a souhaité nous toutes bienvenue. Gade trai peuple ou nan bataille Jésus, gade gens a courir derrière yo dans tout coin Saint-Domingue, gade gens a bourré yo dans caloge et puis pimpe yo la caille. Pour diable, y a fui insécurité, la vie chère, mais qui est-ce qui a réconforté yo? Côté secours yo a sorti l'Éternel. Pasteur Desronettes, maintenant à groupe Flambeau spirituel, ensemble avec tout pasteur dans Magdalena, a organisé un grand concert de réconfort dans bataille Magdalena en République dominicaine. Vendredi 24 février, sorti 5h pour 8h du soir. Musique évangélique, c'est une musique inspirée qui baille réconfort, qui simaille l'espoir et puis chasse tristesse. Louange nous, c'est un sacrifice devant mon Dieu qui qu'on lever moun, qui qu'on lever nation en dignité. Haïtien tout partout, n'a débarqué dans bataille, dans Magdalena, présence nous youn, a bay l'autre courage. Adoration ak louange nous toutes dans l'unité, car aller en victoire sans pareil. 24 février, depuis 5h fait boule, grand concert de réconfort et de louange avec Pasteur Desronettes. En pile, l'autre artiste à groupe invité à plat. Pas oublier fois ça, Blanc Desronettes à présent. Pour danser pour tout peuple haïtien qui n'a grand tristesse. Concert ça gratis ti chéri. Pour information, relais pasteur Elinor dans 849 859 42 32 ou bien contacter évangéliste Ramon dans 829 418 88 56. Pasteur Desronettes, groupe Flambeau spirituel à tout pasteur dans Magdalena dans bataille, a souhaité nous toutes bienvenue. Gade trai peuple ou nan bataille Jésus, gade gens a courir derrière yo dans tout coin Saint-Domingue, gade gens a bourré yo dans caloge et puis pimpe yo la caille. Pour diable, y a fui insécurité, la vie chère, mais qui est-ce qui a réconforté yo? Côté secours yo a sorti l'Éternel. Pasteur Desronettes, maintenant à groupe Flambeau spirituel, ensemble avec tout pasteur dans Magdalena, a organisé un grand concert de réconfort dans bataille Magdalena en République dominicaine. Vendredi 24 février, sorti 5h pour 8h du soir. Musique évangélique, c'est une musique inspirée qui baille réconfort, qui simaille l'espoir et puis chasse tristesse. Louange nous, c'est un sacrifice devant mon Dieu qui qu'on lever moun, qui qu'on lever nation en dignité. Haïtien. À plat, pas oublier fois ça, Blanc Desronettes à présent. Pour danser pour tout peuple haïtien qui n'a grand tristesse. Concert ça gratis ti chéri. Pour information, relais pasteur Elinor dans 849 859 42 32 ou bien contacter évangéliste Ramon dans 829 418 88 56.
This week, the law finally caught up with Donald J. Trump. He became the first ever former president to be charged with a crime, having spent decades dodging legal accountability for a whole host of other alleged crimes. On Tuesday in New York City, Trump pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in connection to hush money payments made to porn star Stormy Daniels, payments allegedly reimbursed by Trump to Michael Cohen while he was in the White House. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg spoke after the arraignment, explaining why his office chose to charge Trump with felonies rather than misdemeanors.
Under New York state law, it is a felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about. 34 false statements made to cover up other crimes. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct. The defendant repeatedly made false statements on New York business records.
But don't get your hopes up for any fast-moving action on this case. For one, nothing is going to happen for a very long time. Trump isn't due in court again till the end of the year. And for another, as liberal Ian Millhiser writes in Vox, there's a very real risk that this indictment will end in an even bigger anticlimax. It's unclear that the felony statute that Trump is accused of violating actually applies to him. And conservative David French echoes that sentiment in the New York Times, writing that Bragg's legal theory is, quote, largely untested. Other legal analysts disagree. So at this point, in the...
Groupe Flambeau Spirituel, à tout pasteur dans Magdalena, dans bataille, a souhaité nous toutes bienvenue. Gade trai peuple ou nan bataille Jésus, gade gens a courir derrière yo dans tout coin Saint-Domingue, gade gens a bourré yo dans caloge et puis pimper yo la caille. Pour diable, y a fui insécurité, la vie chère, mais qui est-ce qui a réconforté yo? Côté secours yo a sorti l'Éternel. Pasteur de honnête, maintenant à groupe Flambeau Spirituel, ensemble avec tout pasteur dans Magdalena, a organisé un grand concert de réconfort dans bataille Magdalena en République Dominicaine. Vendredi 24 février, sorti 5h pour 8h du soir. Musique
of the racist attack. He posted on Truth Social that Alvin Bragg, a black man, is a Soros-backed animal. That's a 2-for-1. An anti-Semitic dog whistle combined with an anti-black racist slur. Just imagine if Mitt Romney had used the same term during his presidential race a little over 10 short years ago. That certainly would have been disqualifying for him in that GOP, but not this one. Number two, Trump cannot stop using language that incites violence and threats. He warned of, quote, death and destruction if he was charged by the Manhattan DA. He also posted a disturbing image of himself holding a baseball.
Ça, blanc de honnête à présent pour danser.
At the time, Candace
Chasser tristesse.
and went after his
Sacrifice devant mon Dieu, qui kon leve moun, qui kon leve nation en dignité. Haïtien tout partout, n'a débarqué dans bataille, dans Magdalena, présence nous youn, a bay l'autre courage. Adoration ak louange nous toutes dans l'unité, car aller en victoire sans pareil. 24 février, depuis 5h fait boule, grand concert de réconfort et de louange avec Pasteur de honnête. En pile, l'autre artiste à groupe invité à plat. Pas oublier fois ça, blanc de honnête à présent. Pour danser pour tout peuple haïtien qui n'a grande tristesse. Concert ça, gratis ti chéri. Pour information, relais Pasteur Elinor dans 849 859 42 32 ou bien contacter Évangéliste Ramon dans 829 418 88 56. Pasteur de honnête, groupe Flambeau Spirituel à tout pasteur dans Magdalena dans bataille, a souhaité nous toutes bienvenue. Gade trai peuple ou nan bataille Jésus, gade gens a courir derrière yo dans tout coin Saint-Domingue, gade gens a bourré yo dans caloge et puis pimper yo la caille. Pour diable, y a fui insécurité, la vie chère, mais qui est-ce qui a réconforté yo? Côté secours yo a sorti l'Éternel. Pasteur de honnête, maintenant à groupe Flambeau Spirituel, ensemble avec tout pasteur dans Magdalena, a organisé un grand concert de réconfort dans bataille Magdalena en République Dominicaine. Vendredi 24 février, sorti 5h pour 8h du soir. Musique évangélique, c'est une musique inspirée qui baille réconfort, qui simaille l'espoir et puis chasse tristesse. Louange nous, c'est un sacrifice devant mon Dieu qui qu'on leve moun, qui qu'on leve nation en dignité. Haïtien tout partout, n'a débarqué dans bataille, dans Magdalena, présence nous youn a bay l'autre courage. Adoration ak louange nous toutes dans l'unité, car aller en victoire sans pareil. 24 février, depuis 5h fait boule, grand concert de réconfort et de louange avec Pasteur Deronette. En pile, l'autre artiste à groupe invité à plat. Pas oublier fois ça, Blanc Deronette à présent. Pour danser pour tout peuple haïtien qui n'a grande tristesse. Concert ça, gratis ti chéri. Pour information, relais Pasteur Elinor dans 849 859 42 32 ou bien contacter Évangéliste Ramon dans 829 418 88 56. Pasteur Deronette, groupe Flambeau spirituel à tout pasteur dans Magdalena dans bataille, a souhaité nous toutes bienvenue. Gade trahi peuple ou nan bataille Jésus, gade gens a courir derrière yo dans tout coin Saint-Domingue, gade gens a bourré yo dans caloge et puis pimper yo la caille. Pour diable, y a fui insécurité, la vie chère, mais qui est-ce qu'a réconforté yo? Côté secours yo a sorti l'Éternel. Pasteur Deronette, maintenant à groupe Flambeau spirituel, ensemble avec tout pasteur dans Magdalena, a organisé un grand concert de réconfort dans bataille Magdalena en République dominicaine. Vendredi 24 février, sorti 5h pour 8h du soir. Musique évangélique, c'est une musique inspirée qui baille réconfort, qui simaille l'espoir et puis chasse tristesse. Louange nous, c'est un sacrifice devant mon Dieu qui qu'on lever moun, qui qu'on lever nation en dignité. Haïtien tout partout, n'a débarqué dans bataille, dans Magdalena, présence nous youn a bay l'autre courage. Adoration ak louange nous toutes dans l'unité, car aller en victoire sans pareil. 24 février, depuis 5h fait boule, grand concert de réconfort et de louange avec Pasteur Deronette. En pile, l'autre artiste à groupe invité à plat. Pas oublier fois ça, Blanc Deronette à présent. Pour danser pour tout peuple haïtien qui n'a grande tristesse. Concert ça, gratis ti